round of applause for the Envoys, the resident choir, led by Emmanuel D.K. Esan. Thank you very much. And that creates a very, very good path to hear from the minister, at whose invitation we're here this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me make welcome the Honorable Foreign Affairs Minister, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa. Let's put our hands together for him.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, President of the Republic of Ghana, Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Your Excellency, I acknowledge our distinguished chair, the government chair, Taki Chu, the second. And I also acknowledge all ministers, presidential staffers, the CDS, Chief Director, the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament, well represented, our staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and of course, I reserve the best for last, our distinguished envoys, the ambassadors. We are here to celebrate, to discuss with, to brainstorm with. On behalf of President John Dramani Mahama, I congratulate all of you on this noble appointment. There are very few people in our lifetime who will be considered worthy to be appointed ambassadors. When you look at the requirements under Article 74 of the Constitution, it's rigorous indeed. You must meet the President's high standards, and then you are subjected to further scrutiny by the Council of State. And that is not all. You are subjected to thorough background checks by national security. And probably the only appointment where it is not only the Ghanaian national security that conducts background check. The country you are headed to will also have to satisfy themselves before an agreement is issued. And I can confirm this morning that President Mahama's choices have been excellent, because so far we have received 100% confirmation. All the agreements that have come in so far, there has been no rejection, which shows that President Mahama selected the best. It was a really thorough process, and we have to commend His Excellency for the choice. So I'll be doing a brief PowerPoint presentation. That's why the podium has been taken away, so that you can all follow. We want to make good use of the large screen that the ministry has secured. And before I come to the presentation, let me commend the envoys. Mr. President says that I should inform you that you all have very excellent voices, and that he enjoyed the rendition. And you saw the government chair speaking to me. He says, I didn't know that you have choristers here in the Foreign Service. And I said, Your Royal Majesty, we have diplomats of multiple talents. And I added that in the recently organized games for the entire civil service of Ghana, and I'm glad the head of civil service is here, Dr. Agredako, the Foreign Affairs Ministry emerged the most decorated. We won virtually all the trophies. So from football, arm wrestling, table tennis, lawn tennis, we were the victorious ministry. So Diplomats are multi-talented, multi-skilled, and we are poised not only to deliver the diplomatic dividend, but anywhere you ask us to represent Ghana, we are ready. Another round of applause for our foreign service. So now to my presentation. The theme for this year's Ambassadors Conference and Orientation is harnessing the dividends of diplomacy for Ghana's reset agenda. You know that President Mahama won an overwhelming mandate on the back of resetting Ghana. And the president has told us that reset must permeate every department, every sector of public service, all the way to our individual lives, our attitudes. We must reset, and we must meet the high standards that the Ghanaian people expect of us. So over the next 5 days, all our resource persons, beginning from Dr. Ishmael Yamson, who will be speaking after me, they will be focusing on how, after almost 7 decades of nationhood, how do we recalibrate, how do we reconfigure our ways so that we can reset and meet the high standards of the president and the expectations of the Ghanaian people. Now, as envoys, you will be representing His Excellency John Dramani Mahama abroad. He is a man who needs no introduction, but there have been some recent affirmations of who he is, which we must all reflect on, and it has to guide us on the work we are going to pursue abroad. As you do know, the president just returned from Singapore, and after his engagements with his counterpart, the president of Singapore, in that bilateral meeting, which President Taman did not want to end, and the colleagues who were in the meeting, you recall. After the meeting, this is what the president posted on his social media handles. The president wrote, "Ghana's President John Mahama is a man on a mission. He is determined to see his country and its young population succeed. I was very pleased to meet him today on his state visit to Singapore." That is what the president of Singapore had to say about our president. In Japan, before going to Singapore, President Mahama was in Japan attending TICAD 9. He had a bilateral meeting with the IMF Director for Africa, Abebe Amemro Selassie, and this is what he said. "I hardly hear presidents with such fine details about their country, but then again, this is Ghana's John Mahama." Then there was another bilateral meeting with the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. And this is what he also said. "President Mahama and Ghana represent a fundamental pillar of the United Nations." So when you are going to represent a president with this extraordinary endorsement by global leaders, you know you can only be your best and put your best foot forward at all times. It is worth reminding all of us that President Mahama is currently the AU champion for reparations. His mandate has been extended this year in Malabo. The whole reparations agenda is now a 10-year agenda, which Ghana has been asked to lead, thanks to the sterling performance of President Mahama. He is also the AU champion for gender. He is the AU champion for African financial institutions. There are very few African leaders that the AU has reposed so much confidence in. And you do know that he's currently the second vice chairperson of the AU. Next year, he will be first vice chairperson. And then, inshallah, 2027, he will be the chairman of the African Union. We currently have 75 diplomatic missions as a country. So we are growing from an initial start of under 10 under the Osagifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. We are now at 75. We have 13 high commissions, 48 embassies, and 14 consulates. President Mahama has instructed that we establish new consulates. And you may have heard that one of the key outcomes from his state visit to Singapore is the agreement that both sides will deepen bilateral engagement and establish permanent footprints. So next year, we have been charged to open a consulate in Singapore. We are also opening one in Dublin, in Ireland, and an additional one in Massachusetts. Ghanaians in the US have been crying that New York and Washington cannot continue to represent the 50-state country. And so President Mahama granted us approval only 2 weeks ago for an additional consulate to be opened in Massachusetts. And then we are going to have a new consulate in Lisbon, Portugal. You do know that Air Portugal has a direct flight here. We have growing commerce. And when our PPMEB, that's Policy Planning, Evaluation and Monitoring Bureau of our ministry, did an analysis, they made a strong case for us to establish diplomatic presence in Portugal. So we are grateful to President Mahama. President Mahama loves this ministry so much that so far I have not made a request he has rejected. And I pray to continue that way. The ratio of ambassadors, I know that my colleagues here are always particular about that. They kept reminding me, Honorable Minister, please keep an eye on the ratio. Don't allow your colleagues in the political class to take all the ambassadorial positions. I am delighted to confirm to you that President Mahama has been more particular even before I raised the matter. So we are currently doing 45-55 in favor of non-career ambassadors. And that is very impressive. That is very, very impressive. So 34 non-career ambassadors, 28 career ambassadors. And I asked for a historical analysis to be done. And when you put it in perspective, you see that President Mahama has done very well. Between 1992 and 2000, from our PPMEB and the direct admin, the analysis they have done, we're doing 60-40 in favor of non-career. That must have been under President Rawlings. Then under President Kufuor, we're doing 64-36 in favor of non-career. And then under President Mills, it was 58-42 in favor of non-career. And then under President Akufo-Addo, 52-48%. So you see that President Mahama's 55-45. It's amongst one of the best. President Mahama, President Akufo-Addo have done quite well, making sure that our career diplomats, because that's the dream of all of you, I know. You want to be ambassadors one day. Many of you want to be called Ambassador Techi Mensin or Ambassador Adam or Ambassador Khadija, you know. They are your role models, and you always want to be like them, like Ambassador Ntrakwa. So I know, and we are keeping an eye on that. And President Mahama has even told me that along the line, we'll see, as we are expanding and opening new consulates and embassies, who knows, we may even get to 50-50. He's discussed. So a round of applause to President Mahama. And let me put this in context so that your applause will be louder. President Mahama has appointed the leanest government in history, in our recent history, the leanest. And yet, he has the most overwhelming mandate, a 2/3 parliamentary majority. So you can imagine the pressure on him. You know, others had a lot of appointments they were making at the ministerial level. And so they could have afforded, you know, to allow, you know, our diplomats to occupy the ambassadorial positions. And yet, despite the constraint, only 60 ministers. he has still managed to keep within very impressive levels of 55-45. So another round of applause. When you put this in context, you see that President Mahama has done very, very well. And I hope that Chairman of the NDC, Honorable Asiedu Nketia, will allow this to continue. We're currently doing a staff strength of 823, and Her Excellency the Vice President will be really pleased to hear today that we now have more females than males at the Foreign Ministry. So we have 463 females and then 360 males. So at the Foreign Ministry, if you want to talk about gender equality, it's not what you know about. The men are rather endangered, you know. So, so I want to come to some of the reset agenda that the President instructed us to pursue. I inherited a passport backlog of about 70,000 uncollected because we were still stuck to the old way of doing things. You have to apply manually and you have to go back to the passport office for your passport. We've decided to totally overhaul the system. We've rolled out chip embedded passports. The process began since the era of the Honorable Hanatete, but we came to operationalize it and to roll it out. But we didn't only roll out the new ICAO standard chip embedded passport. We have introduced 24-hour operations at the passport office. We've introduced e-tracking, and we have also introduced courier services. So now in the comfort of your home, you can receive your passport. You don't have to be stressing going back to the passport office for... And since 28 April this year, when we launched the program, we have successfully distributed 110,828 passports to all those who have applied through courier. So they don't have to stress. And what is also impressive about this is that we've totally eliminated the middlemen. We no longer have the infamous Goro boys who were extorting from people, taking advantage of the bottlenecks, the red tape. That has been totally eliminated. And you've seen some of the testimonies. We've highlighted some of the testimonies from, you take somebody like Prosper Donko, who posted on his Facebook page that when we say everything rises and falls on leadership, this is what we mean. So on Monday, June 30, 2025, I applied for my passport renewal. I received a notification for the delivery of my passport by 21st July 2025. I said in my head, I know when to expect it, 21st August. Then late this afternoon, I received a call. Kindly confirm your location for the delivery of your passport. It's ready. I nearly shouted, "You scammer, get off my line." But something also tells me, you relax, since he's not asking you to reset your Momo PIN. So I relaxed. In about 30 minutes, I received another call. "Hello, sir. Kindly meet me at your gate to pick up your passport." Like joke, as we say in Ghana. The passport was delivered to me right at the comfort of my home, not in 21 days, but in 3 days after my application. I started shouting, passers-by would think there was something wrong with me. Ghana can work, Ghana is rising. Thank you, Honorable Ablakwa. Thank you, President John Dramani Mahama. Thank you for restoring dignity into leadership in Ghana's politics. Lest I forget, the dignity with which I was even served at the passport office in Ho for the first time. He goes on and on. You can tell he's so excited. John Bosco also had a testimony. Jojo Chate Kwanzaa because of time. But I'm sure you've been seeing a lot of this. And there's feedback we are also receiving after the reforms we did in Washington. Nana Kofi Bafo is a very respected travel and tour operator in Ghana. He recently wrote that his experience with Washington after the shake-up we did has been remarkable, and he wants to commend the president and colleagues at the ministry for the work we have done. We won't have time for that video. The other reform that we have carried out is Stride. And here we have to really commend President Mahama. He has been very, very resolute that we need to implement Stride. Stride is a strategic transition from renting to infrastructure development. It's quite embarrassing that as a foreign ministry, we don't own a lot of the properties we operate in across the world. We don't own the chanceries, the residences. There are many countries you go to and we don't own a single property. We spend $50 million every year on rental. That is money that we can use to construct and own our own buildings. And the sad part is that there are 23 countries that the host governments have donated land to us freely. Recently, when we went for the AU meeting in Malabo, the ambassador appealed to President Mahama that look at prime land we have been given in between the Indian and American embassy. The Equatorial Guineans want to take it back if we don't develop it. Because since 2010, they made a donation to us. Fortunately, I can confirm to you that President Mahama has granted us executive approval. We now have cabinet approval, and we are going to implement STRIDE. A transaction advisor has been appointed by the finance minister, and the finance ministry is looking at the funding arrangements, and there is full support for us to transition from rental to owning our own properties across the world so we can restore dignity. The other reforms we've carried out on the president's instruction, you know, the president at his investiture said Ghana is open for business again. So now the new policy, you've all received the circular, no visa processing should go beyond 5 days. A decision must be made. If you are issuing, issue within 5 days. If you are not, reject within 5 days. A decision must be made. The president has also instructed that next year we should make sure we introduce e-visas so that we can be modernized. Then I know this will excite our government chair. It's as though the government chair really has been in our management meetings. So we have been worried that for about 2 decades now, some way, somehow, I've been asking how did it happen? But this ministry no longer has a bureau for culture, for linguistics and tourism. I'm delighted to announce to you today, Government Chair, I know you are delighted to hear this news. We have now established a new bureau for culture, linguistics, and tourism. We've brought it back. And beyond culture and tourism, what linguistics will do is that it will also help us to build capacity, multilingual capacity. That is why we are losing out in a lot of international appointments. And recently in Japan, it was quite a struggle. There was only one interpreter. And once that interpreter is with the president, the rest of us had to manage somehow. It wasn't easy. You should see us do a lot of sign language in the process. But the new bureau, Culture, Linguistics, and Tourism Bureau, unfortunately, some countries have already approached us since we established the bureau, support us with capacity building in getting our colleagues to be more multilingual. And we are all going to take advantage of that so that we don't have to resort to sign language when the president is on a state visit. Then on the president's firm instruction, we've also reclaimed our ministry's land. Now all the land around this ministry is back into the ownership of the foreign ministry. We've also stopped the illegal sales of our properties in Nigeria, in Zambia. There was an arrest of the Nigerian suspect, who is Ghanaian. I should be careful so I don't create a diplomatic role. He's Ghanaian who was engaged in an illegal activity in Nigeria. Then we've also made it clear that none of our ministry's properties are up for sale. We've lost quite a number of properties in London, in Australia. We have a new policy that no sale of state assets. You know my position. I'm glad the Honorable Ranking Member is here. Sometimes he nicknames me Minister State Capture. So you can be assured that there will be no state capture at the Foreign Ministry. And then we've also, to strengthen that, we've established an asset register. You all received the circular, and that has been compiled. So now we know what we own everywhere in the world. There's a very sad story. We didn't know about 2 properties we own, very prime properties in Australia. And some officer managed to steal the documents, then quickly retired, resigned from the service, stayed in Australia and just took over those 2 properties. We've lost it. We've tried all kinds of bilateral arrangements. It doesn't look good. The same situation in the UK. So now we have the challenge, we are told, is poor record keeping. Now we've updated our records. We have the assets register, and we do not want those situations to ever recur. We've created a students' desk. Then we've also addressed this issue of vehicle leases. The president was very appalled and instructed that if we would engage in a lease, it should be lease to own, not leases that really does not protect the public purse. On my first meeting with staff here, the junior staff made a passionate appeal that you need staff buses. I'm delighted to inform you that the buses, we've gone through the procurement process and the buses have been ordered. In the next few weeks, you are going to have your buses. We've fully operationalized the Foreign Service Institute, and we've appointed its first governing board. They are here, and I want to commend you for the work that you are doing. This is another area that we have been very, very successful, and we've received tremendous support from President Mahama. The Candidates Bureau has done a great job. Virtually all the candidates we have put forward for international positions have won. Ambassador Amachum Amwa is now the Commissioner for Health, Humanitarian Affairs, and Social Development at the AU. Honorable Kwame Adem-Senanu also was successfully re-elected, and he's on the AU Advisory Board Against Corruption. Ambassador Jane Gasua Heto also won her election as the AU Commission member on the International Law Council. Dr. Odro Osai was also successfully elected with our full backing and support on the United Nations Committee of Experts on Public Administration. Dr. Delise Memedako also won her election as the first Director General of the African Medicines Agency. And that was a very fierce contest with another distinguished pharmacist from Morocco. Seats competition we engaged in on the UN Commission for Population and Development for the term 2026 to 2030. We also won the UN Commission on Narcotic Drugs from 2026 to 2029. We have the distinguished Mr. Akresi Sapon, who is going to be representing us. So we have a number of upcoming bids. We are quite confident. Ambassador Francis Datikotia, who is serving in The Hague, is running for Director General Organization for Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, OPCW. Elections are scheduled later this month. We hope that he will be successful. Justice Edward Amwako Asante has received our full backing, the President's support for UNHRC Advisory Committee, also slated for later this month. Then Professor Paul Kuruk, that celebrated international jurist, is also receiving our full support for the International Justice for October 2025. Then we have a re-election and quite a number of them. So we really have been very active. The President has charged us that we need to increase our presence in international organizations. If you look at the quotas available to us, we are not doing well at all. We are in a lot of AU, ECOWAS, UN, I mean, much, much smaller countries way ahead of us. And we are being very bullish and rigorous about it. And I'm glad that we are seeing successes in that area. We've had quite a good number of bilateral negotiations that have turned out well. And you do know the biggest one that is really exciting, particularly the sports fraternity, is the visa waiver agreement with Morocco. You no longer require visas you don't have to also go for visa interviews. You just do it online, and it's working so well. The last time we checked, more than 2,000 Ghanaians since we signed this have visited Morocco, and the feedback is very good from the visa waiver process. We've done same with Colombia. You don't need visas to go to Colombia once you have a Ghanaian passport. Same for the Dominican Republic. All categories of passports, diplomatic service, ordinary passports. Sao Tome and Principe, and then visa waiver agreements between Mozambique, all categories of passports. We've done same with Angola as well, which is before cabinet. And I can confirm to you that all of this have gone through the processes under Article 75, cabinet approval, parliamentary ratification. So they've been ratified and they are all in force. We've also finally ratified the host agreement for AGRA, and we recently also made history. We've joined the elite category of countries against the prohibition of nuclear weapons. That has been ratified, and Ghana is in good company. And perhaps this is the time for us to really remind the world that it doesn't pay to have nuclear weapons. We really have to disarm and dismantle. We have ongoing labor mobility agreements. We are working with the Ministry of Health on this, and discussions are going on with Jamaica, Germany, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Qatar, UAE, Serbia, and Bulgaria. We have done well. We've trained a good number of nurses, and some of them are at home waiting for financial clearance. What is the point in keeping them at home when other countries need them? We've trained them already. We have met the UN ratio. They are at home. There is no point. And unemployment, as you know, in Ghana is at 18.7%. President Mahama says that we should really expedite work on these labor mobility agreements. And he's set up a team that is retraining, offering certification so that they can be able to fit into the international market. And that is going very, very well so far as this is concerned. Then who can really challenge us that Ghana's international image is soaring and is at an all-time high? Ghana has become the envy. I go into meetings and foreign ministers are asking me, how are you people doing it? What's happening? Everybody wants to come to Ghana. Everybody is inviting your president. And I say it's the grace of God. And we thank the Almighty. But it also shows that we are doing a lot right in our country and in our foreign service. Prime Minister Modi has been here. That was a big one. The international community was really impressed with that. The Czech president has been here. President Mahama has been on a state visit. The first president in the history of our country to be invited on a state visit to Singapore. He deserves a round of applause. Deserves a round of applause for that. The good news is that there's no end in sight. The German president has confirmed he's on his way to Ghana. He wants to pay a state visit. The Canadian Prime Minister has also confirmed he wants to be here. And then they don't also want to keep President Mahama here with us. President Xi has also invited him on a state visit to China. The royal family has also invited him in Qatar. So the president has a very, very busy schedule. And all of this is to buttress the point that we are doing very well. We have a soaring international image. And as you take your positions, you should be conscious of this and represent Ghana very well. Now, the famous delivery unit. So we decided that as part of the reset vision of President Mahama, this ministry must plug in, and we don't have to be left out. So we decided to appoint a distinguished ambassador, Ambassador Alexander Grant Intrakwa, a retired head of mission, who we had to recall from retirement. And here again, we have to thank President Mahama. He had just put out a directive that no ministry should engage a retiree, and that we should allow the young ones to also grow. I had to go appeal to him, make a special case that this is an assignment that requires a very senior person. You are going to be like the IGP, be monitoring, making sure that we are all performing, we are abiding by our KPIs. So you can't use, a junior diplomat for that. And you need somebody who's retired, who's seen it all, and who can do it. And President Mahama did not hesitate at all. He made an exception only for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Another round of applause. So the delivery unit delivery unit has been working in earnest, and they have been responsible for putting together the KPIs President Mahama will be launching. And I am so honored and humble to say that this is the first time in the history of the Foreign Ministry of Ghana that our ambassadors are going to work with KPIs. We are going to work with a measurable performance framework. And it shows our willingness to support the President's reset agenda and to set very high standards, which we are known for, by the way. And it's always good to push yourselves to more higher standards. So economic diplomacy is at the center, responsive consular services, and institutionalized accountability. Those have been the guiding principles. And you see when the KPIs are launched and presented to you that they are very, very smart, they are specific, they are measurable, they are attainable, they are realistic, and they are time-bound. Now, these are some of the selected KPIs that we'll be working with. And once again, the government chair will be delighted to see this, because in his very well-written address and well-delivered address, he talked about how we must improve trade volumes. Government chair, I'm very happy to inform you that every mission, we have country-specific KPIs. And the minimum threshold we have set is that everybody must increase trade volumes by 10% annually. That's the minimum. The minimum. Some have been giving 15%, some 20%.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to chair this all-important opening ceremony. It's a personal privilege and also a celebration of the partnership between the Ghana Traditional Authority and the institutions of government. Congratulations to all new appointments as representatives of Ghana across the globe. Your appointment places into your custody Ghana's global brand of integrity, brand of dignity, aspiration, history, and a rich cultural identity. It's through your hard work and dedicated service that you have arrived at this point in your careers and have earned this place in diplomatic history. Ladies and gentlemen, let us give them another round of applause. So your mission abroad is primarily to build bridges and elevate Ghana by engaging with Ghanaian diaspora and local communities in line with the government's transformation agenda. In this crucial era of our global history, diplomacy has transcended statecraft and evolved into a strategic engine of opportunities. For this reason, your conduct must be a reflection of Ghana's values of integrity, respect, hospitality, and discipline, blending with strategic insights with heartfelt national pride. Additionally, you must prioritize trade, business, investments, and development through strategic partnerships that are equitable and sustainable. In all you do, seek opportunities to promote Ghanaian products from our textiles, our traditional symbols, food products, clothing, and tourism, positioning Ghana as a trusted partner in global commerce. The diaspora is rife with skill, with talents, and expertise. We will ask you to take advantage of those characteristics and harness them for our national development. To this end, I welcome the Ministry of Foreign Affairs' production of key performance indicators, KPIs, for heads of mission, which signals a divisive shift from the ceremonial diplomacy that we know to a result-driven global approach. Within your missions, you will operate in a world of competing interests and delicate balances. Be sensitive to the culture of your host nations without compromising on our Ghanaian values. Educate yourself about the socio-political nuance of their people, but act with the courage and empathy underpinned by intelligence. This conference is not routine. It's not at all. It is a reaffirmation of Ghana's place globally. The theme harnessing the dividends of diplomacy for Ghana's reset agenda is a call to action. Say a call to action. I commend His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana, the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, for convening this meeting to lay the bricks on the foundation for a more professional and resultative foreign service. A summary of a few things I want you to know: that we have to intensify and further diversify our trade directions, quality and packing of products, fighting sanitary and phytosanitary or other artificial barriers to our trade. In this area, we must boost the volume of our inter-African trade, which still has immense opportunity for growth. Let us fully implement visa regimes that will make Africa a more common home for all Africans. This is an indispensable part of our Pan-African agenda. Let us insist on reciprocal agreements, arrangements, particularly in the areas of immigration requirements, timelines, fees and charges of embassies in processing of visas. Reciprocity is a cardinal principle in diplomatic relations. We must adopt a more efficient and sustainable systems of payment of school fees for government-sponsored students abroad, as many of them now face major challenges. Furthermore, I encourage the ministry to give a greater focus to cultural diplomacy and involve traditional leadership in showcasing our rich cultural heritage through soft bilateral cultural exchanges to increase tourist arrivals in the country for huge benefits. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let us not sweep our challenges under the carpet. We must confront them boldly, because only then can Ghana's diplomacy deliver lasting benefits for our people. I bless your journey. You won't say amen? You will not fail. Wombi jomo kenhanye bene yefane ni wombi ni adrunye na kenye eni ewala no fe no ni nyafe man se efe jomo ulu ke hagana mamu fe roma fane ulu teke no ne se gana mamu fe no ye nya wodubani bia ne won tunye akebofo ye kenya din fe nya kle aje nye pe akekane ke hagana. God bless you all. God bless our homeland Ghana.
Ladies and gentlemen, please let's put our hands together. His Royal Majesty King Taki Teko True II, the government chair. Thank you very much. And indeed, this conference is not routine. His anointing was measured. I was just a bit scared when he started clapping. He could have just influenced another overflow. But God, government chair, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you indeed. And as we are witnessing a shift from ceremonial diplomacy into an economic focused one, that's the main reason why this gathering is extremely important as we start that journey right from now. And we'll have the opening remarks of the acting chief director of the finance of the Foreign Affairs Ministry, Ambassador Khadija Idrisu. Please, let's put our hands together for Ambassador Khadija Idrisu.
I'm a little bit under the weather. I hope you forgive me. I was asking myself this morning, why this day when we are receiving His Excellency the President? But please forgive me. Your Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, Your Excellency Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Edina, Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, His Royal Majesty, the Government Chair, King Taki Teko True II, Chairman of the occasion, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, yes, it's better, thank you. The Minister for Foreign Affairs, Honorable Samuel Okujato Ablakwa, MP, Honorable Ministers and Members of Parliament, Senior Government Officials, the CDS, Chief of Defense Staff, members of the Ministerial Advisory Board, members of the Governing Council of the Foreign Service Institute, members of the Council on Foreign Relations, ambassadors, high commissioners, and newly appointed envoys, directors and staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, distinguished invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs, it is my distinct honor and privilege to respectfully and warmly welcome His Excellency the President of the Republic and all our distinguished guests to the opening ceremony of the Conference of Heads of Mission and Orientation Program for our newly appointed envoys, being held under the theme Harnessing the Dividends of Diplomacy for Ghana's Reset Agenda. We are deeply honored by the presence of His Excellency, the President, who, as the chief diplomat and the architect of Ghana's foreign policy, has set the foreign policy direction for the country, taking due cognizance of his domestic policies. As we are all well aware, the foreign policy of the country mirrors its domestic policy. Hence, the theme for the conference was carefully chosen to highlight the role of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the country's reset agenda. Mr. President, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is Ghana's gateway to the world, has positioned itself to engage with our bilateral and multilateral partners towards the realization of the government's priority programs and projects as aptly captured under 24-hour economy policy and other initiatives of the government. In this regard, the ministry has carefully selected its resource persons, which include our capable sector ministers, who will, for the next 5 days, provide briefings on key areas of national interest. The program will also provide a strategic platform for aligning the work of Ghana's missions with Ghana's foreign and domestic policy priorities, as well as promote coordination between the missions, the ministry, and government institutions. The topic for the program was the topics were strategically selected to hone the skills of our envoys to facilitate their diplomatic engagements. It is worth mentioning that the combined program for the 7 and new envoys will offer the opportunity for them to build synergies through their interactions and also share best practices. The highlight of this program will be the historic launch of the key performance indicators, KPIs. Your Excellency, the President, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are profoundly grateful to the Ghana Chair, His Royal Majesty Kinta Kiteko Churu II, for gracing this occasion as the chairman. Your presence, sir, is a reminder of our deep and heritage for national dignity, connecting our modern diplomatic endeavors to the
Everybody knows Acrobato. And if you know Acrobato, it means you know Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic is my pillar. Let's hear what others are saying about Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Who will be careful Endpoint one?
Chesena me ankasa me period na se problems wom tina ma wo ho idea ma me papa chesena nya asem ketewa na mkwan point no mo hwe me modem no mo hwe bibia na so mo meduro me fae no ene ma won kra me nu foforo kwa na mkwan mu a eba
and everything yourself
me ma me no adwodwo eda ho a wontumi nante ene ne ko endpoint o mama nuru a ene ne ho idea watimi asori anante.
That's Endpoint for you of Acrobato. Hello ohwehwe what chair okay a free bra wo di Endpoint wa dance a me ko ye no me Johnson sema na nkoyie person na my nyina na magina sebema na me be for there e ho de nyina jaresa. You heard everything. I have secret. Endpoint is my secret. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. I'm free.
Every morning morning, I wake up to this miracle sleeping soundly. But mornings weren't always this peaceful. I remember the sleepless nights, leaks that woke us both up, damp clothes and tears. And all I wanted was for my baby to be dry and comfortable.
A police for him say, "Akono yebeto yeguso to ya no obi fa ne sanko and na ogusu ne dman bi ekwakoye ne bone ya na ehu sobo no erebo
kwankyere for commissioner no dia to just what is shape go so akwa every two or they be ho ban
when you say me ya se boy me ka osa fe no bi fi ade asa na so your phone down ka dia this chocolate drink na bi di wakagina mu motumi ada ade achi sanso na nsu papa special mineral water wono mo so asin medical seboy e de ebremo bitin e de anim ado meni
Sadat Mohammed
afi ran senuma na ye dan ye ni e de akire omampani akwantu a otuye e de ko Asia eye continent no so Japan e no wadan ni aba bi pie mo Singapore na omampani enkohwe okwo ya kwako pie mu aba sika bepim eye baako eye $1 billion eno eni sika nyuma ko ahodo a ewo Singapore no chese omo de aba bibie nyuma ahodo ewo man Ghana mu edwuma baako eye Olam o chese odi opepepim ahamienu $200 million ena edi na nyuma ahodo a ogusu eye no odi aba ba hyemu ebi ene Ghana duane ho mampani ehyehyɛ watu din Ghana no chese nuane ho se no mba beboa sa adwuma ko kwa omo dwuma mo ye ne se ahojebia eno esi mkye hotel ne ade Shangri-La omo chese omo de pepem ahamsa $300 million na omo de eba no mo besi hotel wanwaso kese pa 5 star eno ba besi a shopping mall ne ade nyina ewo mo chese eba bibio mato ne bibio mu dia dodo na beda no moni e dia ba sanse ope hotel kese pa aye adwuma ewo mu a eno e ba kwa omba besi sanso ni HL gonso a omba besi baby a school for no ebetena enipa empimdu ena ebe 10,000 capacity and the befa oda woni kotoka wiem hye bia benso a mo ba ne ma ye de behwe na obi di nubone ne ade a tumi ahwe na nyina no o ma tumi akrakra ye mfidie mo de eba wa oda woni kire temanso kwakoboa boa baby esiesie ship ne ne ade nyina no o ma tumi no ma ye ne yie enye no Singapore for eba beboa o my Ghana na yakwan eba be ye no nyoma de papa no na se ye sohwe se ye papa no so omba beboa na yesibi wo Ghana na enu achi no so school eye TVET school omba beboa na yetumi enye bi ewo enkran ene ne mpatem na atumi aboa ni nyina eye $1 billion o mampani ekoye no ba ko ni twa tokra no my Ghana Singapore be kan bom na se ne be ye be wiembobra enkoyi no so eno won hihye na atumi ahwe na na atoto fini ade wo Ghana from mapa ahwe kwanto mampani e cause Singapore no ye pimu
nanum ho na chochorofo edema Ghana Registered Midwives and Nurses Association ura David Tenkranchum obeka sai woni tfm so na kasa mi tirim se ensema yi ni e wo Ralph Central woni rage for ntem no na Central for kano a nurse for no so omahu no matibi na Central for bi okrum ha no mo a nurse for na doctor for no modu omani abu omo na omombo mpa ese mo nyare omo yare bi pimo hospitals a ene omo so be kire sampo omo so otumi na asema panyin ne kae no na Central for kuba tan ba no dani wose panyin asema na wakae no wankasa yie na sebi eye ntrene ene obo Central for ntie mani ne phone mo mepa che wa ere ne be famra kwanso.
We have received videos and comments that urged the GJA to act. So, colleagues, after investigations and consultations, your National Executive of the Ghana Journalists Association has noted with grave concern the reckless and dangerous comments made by the General Secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, in short, GRNMA, Dr. David Tenkra Chum, against journalists in Ghana. GJ is outraged by the treacherous and completely unacceptable comments made by Dr. Tenkra Chum, in which he boldly declared that journalists had been marked and will be shown whenever they visit public hospitals. Before the host of the show intervened and told him that you can't talk like that, you can't speak in this manner, then he quickly came in to polish what he said. This is not a mere slip of tongue. It is a blatant threat of violence against journalists in Ghana. Dr. Tenkra Chum must, within 5 days, retract his reckless comments, issue an unqualified public apology to all journalists in Ghana, and give a clear undertaking that he would never again champion or encourage actions that threaten the safety of journalists in this country. The GJ will not hesitate to petition all appropriate bodies, including but not limited to the National Media Commission, the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, SHRAJ, the International Press Freedom Watchdogs, including the Committee to Protect Journalists, CPJ, the Federation of African Journalists, FAJ, and the International Federation of Journalists. We will hold him personally accountable for any harm that befalls journalists in public hospitals or elsewhere as a result of his utterances. We also call on the leadership of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwifery Association to publicly dissociate itself from this comment. Silence on their part will be interpreted as endorsement and complicity. 5. Finally, we urge the government of Ghana, the Ministry of Health, and the security agencies to take immediate steps to assure journalists of their safety in hospitals and other public spaces.
yɛtɔ no so akwa abatɔrɔba so ɛwɔ akwatia na no ɛna sɛnkyɛfoɔ de ɔdaoma no owura abet kwabena dwumfoɔ akasa kyerɛ Ghana police dom ɛkyerɛ sɛ ɔmɔmɔden asɛ sɛnkyɛfoɔ adwuma no sɛ ɔmkɔ akɔhwɛ no mabɛka ho ɛnsɛm na ɔmo kɔedu baabi a ɛba ne sɛ n'anibire ba na obi de n'anibire ɛkɔwie nsɛnkyɛwni so bɛhwɛ no asotɔ ne adeɛ akɔ akɔpiri no kyerɛ sɛ saa bi ɛsi sɛdeɛ bi kɔsi wɔ abirekuma no deɛ na ɛyɛ adeɛ a Ghana police adwuma and Central for Eddie Hosubo Ebebom.
Every presence of the military in Akwetia, particularly Wenchi and other areas, causing fear and panic among the people, in as much as we want to support the security services to discharge their duties. The ally governing the conduct of elections in the country clearly mandates the Ghana Police Service to be the lead security in charge to ensure a secure, orderly and peaceful environment for the electoral process. The same ally mandates the Inspector General of Police to chair election security task force in this country and not the military. And it is only in some instances that the military will serve as a backup to the police to beef up the security when the need be or arises. The GJA is monitoring and observing the election process, and we believe strongly that there's no need for any masked, and the word is masked, any masked security personnel in the constituency. We don't expect security personnel to be seen wearing face mask, causing mayhem, intimidating electorate. The Ghana Journalists Association would like to take this opportunity to urge all journalists or media practitioners assigned to cover the Akwetia parliamentary by-election come Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025, to demonstrate the highest level of professionalism before during and after the polls. As we always say, that journalism is not a crime, and journalists must be treated as partners in democracy, not as targets of attacks and threats. Your leadership will continue to rise and protect the interests, the welfare of journalists in this country at all times.
Penny Kwanchera for the Forestry Commissioner no any Dr. Hugh Clement Adukwe Brown. Opinion akasa de tuju asena tena ne nhyehyɛ pe gu apono so hwɛ hu ne sɛ kwae bretu obetima bɔ ho ban na wona wonam sibo akwa so tu fom agudie sɛ kwae no obetu won so sa won so wo bu nnua enam kwa pa so no obetete safo no.
Chief Executive Officer Wada Forestry Commissioner no Dr. Hank Clement Adukwe Brown was saying na hwe no nhyehyɛ part wa kwamu a wo mo ebetu galamsey ase ene kwati kwanya wo manfo bi ebowra kwae no mu kwatwa enua ne nyina no wo betimi etu ase wo say wo mo tete technical staff sa ebeye adwuma wo Forestry Commissioner wo mo ebeye adwuma wo kwae ni mu na wo mo kyeremu sem Forest Guard any rapid response team
who normally carry out forest operations, measure trees, issue certificates, and then also for the wildlife wardens, and then also timber inspectors. So we are really happy that we have been able to matriculate the second set of students. Last year we matriculated 67, and today we have matriculated 81. It's our hope that by October the first batch will graduate, and then they will quickly be absorbed into the system to help fill the gaps that have been created. I mentioned that we have rapid response teams, we have forest guards. The forest guards are led by the technical staff. So they will coordinate efforts to protect our forests. They will coordinate efforts to manage our forests, whether it is timber harvesting, logging, inventory. They lead the whole process, and with the support of the forest guards. And in the same vein, for the FLET, the Forest Law Enforcement, Governance and Trade License that we are issuing, these are going to be the officers who will be supporting the Timber Industry Development Division to be doing the grading and inspection of timber. They will also be doing the stock survey to ensure that the trees that are being given out are coming from or being selected in a sustainable way. So if you look at all our operations, even including the wildlife side, these are critical frontline technical staff that we need so badly.
And actually, no Kwanchera for your that Forestry Commission Training Center no ora iwe Roslyn Fosua Ejei and so at the same say to ja.
Forestry Commission send your money me adwuma no Ghana paye nyina ye na constitution ma ye home rasa ye mo ho ban na saa e bambo no we be kasa ye in different stages ye when your office ye so say ye on the ground. Where send your galam say edi enyan ya enipa sese omo ye omo preparatory nyina omo no omo abo omo and this is also yes your boy when you more men on the ground and can carry a climate change and summer doors. This is a very good opportunity. I bet sure who say and yes your boy no bank and we are born by amen also so aboy and abe planets no am I and I'm saying you be kind so when the last tree dies the last man dies.
Joshua Ama a National Insurance Commission Dr. Abiba Zakaria Edin Sem Atudwa say enede na so ye no ba behwe na o mape kwan foforo o mebebo akuafo na ba insurance a motumi enyansi achiba papa bi agina o machi se na be yakwadwuma o ya bo se dachi bi e wo ho se bibi eto a obenya insurance bi na tuya boa adwuma o ye no.
First you use technology. The technology send e be ya ko fu bebrebe na o mutumi nanting ho insurance company e be to o mu ye be ya product don't have to show. 2, you share a break insurance any issue because you na an opinion sure say you na you nanka if you are funny in what nanka an opinion the same could be now you can win if you say insurance for if you are funny a big issue now you will say the whole premium was not bought because if you are afraid to man adding and you are don't fool not a job Befa na emua bedi enti no omo betwa premium medi bebe na so sikama mo betwa na edi nti ye ye friend no subsidy insurance subsidy nti ye ni international bodies bi akasa omo beboa ye na ye tinya set up fund subsidy fund aye disika bebu nti senka premium ye 2 cedis if you have ni betwa maybe 1 cedi na fund no etua 1 city ne etia ye insurance afọ and a third one ne ye me can say inclusive insurance no omo affairs inform me insurance then you omo ba ne ebisa wo say o is a kind insurance what you assess and then how person with insurance we etia ye insurance e be ma wo mu di omo hwehwe if etua about 9.2 million Ghana cedis the bia they will claims and the claims they etua pa nti no ba ya rehwem say bitwa ye betwa say when the insurance company ni wo concern na nti na regulator no won the free NIC wo ba ye ho na wo be kan ye be ya ye be boa ye de momo we are looking to support momo yi mu na ye hwehwe nti say wo ba na insurance company we ndi ni ya ye wo wa fan be konto pa ye da we share about 9.2 million Ghana cedis the bia they will claims and the claims they need to pa nti no ba ya rehwem say bitwa ye betwa say when the insurance company ni wo concern na nti na regulator no won the free NIC wo ba ye ho na wo be kan ye be ya ye be boa ye de
awie yebesere mu na ya home ka sebo no so ye ba yebesi nkonwa na ye di Ghana enkomo nyi wo fide ni firi ha ehwe ho abasisia
Your boy, a Echo Bank, Adaroma, and Waso Yasne, Amaya de Bro.
Ewia bo premo ato Ghana de shema manyankopon twedi ampo basaya dom wehire nei ya mamu nyina akwa aba amamatena sede aba UTV ewia prem to break kasebo eso ebraso sansam no yesi nkonwa na yedosomo afegede esomo ensem bi edi mu akotene abati eni oso afo ya wo hwa amnane ensem ene wo ka che Singapore mine se wo mra Ghana ha se emebie enyuma bebre na sanse NDC aban what the certain Ghana agenda no enesum Ghana fo nyina afi ye de ne bechemu abankese mu United Nations penny for meeting o mu hia no afi de mampani kire se ansa ne beji watum se meeting wo kobi no ti se mampani chi amehene ma wo sa tumi no ya ma wo de atena baby adwene ho afi akwetia by elections ye be course September bosome ne de tosom ye no na Ghana Police Service and penny for say wo mu abo ho papa mema e wo krompa afi yebekwa akohwe enra dadi lumba ne 1 week no se ne sitie na enipa mpem ko ye na wo kire se wo mo kai no sanse wo mo done pa ewie de nsempi na aka we ho na yesim konwa ayade esomodi ameje so ene Gargantuan lady ohene wa kase bo wa hene Africa se bo no emunchemu eni oswafo ya wo hwamno ne ensem Samuel Okuje to ablakwan wo kasa eche Singapore mine se woni ye investors be piem wo my Ghana musa ne be ya wo betimi ebie enyuma pii na wo kroma.
As part of his reforms, he's making sure that Ghanaians take ownership of our natural resources. He is negotiating in the best interest of Ghana, and that is why he pledged yesterday when he met the president and the prime minister that very soon, and he's giving us clear marching orders, that by close of year latest, Ghana and Singapore should have a BIT, and that BIT is going to happen this year. With this business investment treaty, we are expecting that we'll have more Singaporean business businesses look to Ghana as the preferred destination. The other good news is that he has instructed the Foreign Ministry to establish a permanent diplomatic presence here in Singapore. So next year, we will be back here to open a consulate. We are going to have a consul general, and that will be the first fiscal presence that we will have here in Singapore. President Mahama wants us to prioritize economic diplomacy, and that's what we have been doing at the Foreign Ministry. Our diplomats are at your service. All our officials, the Ministry of Trade, the GIPC, our marching orders is to facilitate trade, is to make sure that you find in Ghana the preferred business destination. And you will have observed that President Mahama has been personally involved in all of the business discussions, the trade negotiations that we have been holding since he arrived here in Singapore. That is a testament of the belief, the unwavering belief he has in business and in the fact that it is only through trade. He does not believe in aid. He does not believe in handouts. He believes in trade, that it is only through trade. It is only through business-to-business arrangements that we can transform our societies.
Afiyento aso ne yefe yeni nchemu abankese mo nkrata tenten bi epie ba montene so Ghana for yeto ye boase ya chechemudi amamo United Nations mpenifo afibia no wo mo nhyiemudi a wo mota akona afiwe de ne ka ho a na chese wo fe toso edi wotwe na yenim se Ghana man mpeni His Excellency John Dramani Mahama Dwumedie wo betimi akwase na mmom woni ye government appointees no en wo de nkrata we epie montene so ye buo mu nyina akokose ye nto nsanfro ye nsanhye ye nyi wontum a tena ofie tena baby dwunu ho sanse nyesa Ghana mra ebebo papa ye nkrata kese a wo de epie montene so a wo chese ba mu mpeni 47 ministers wo mu abedi eche woni eda abanyuma hodo ano enterprises ahodo afa political appointees wo nyina no esi ane de mpenifo chese ansa na ye sanhye ye agi watun procedures ahodo bi hodoma e wo se hwese obetimi afam ni nyina ne se nanu adam na Ghana man mpeni His Excellency John Dramani Mahama wonne cabinet wo mu hia no mo kire se kwan a akwantuo na edoso ababiti so na de bia wo mu tu kwan se eye ni bomframa luxurious jet na sefo na NDC aban de nya de ne tie bia wo mo ye ne santu betu kwan eye international trip de a chise wo to obo ase bepie mu e wo mampani chi amehene nche na afa wo chire mo chire no botayenti a wo tu kwan se Ghana betimi enya so mfaso de abetimi akọ se yie na wo ma ne ye enya so mfaso de atena afi edwene wo ho na wo chese hyehyɛ ma pa wo ye se ne be ya Ghana fo yentimi emoka na tie hyehyɛ ma peda ho mo wo mo chire se UN penifo na to nsafre wana se organization bi ene to nsade fro agency bi ekuo bi a won sha ba se private entities bi na to nsade fro no chise wo to obo ase nyankrata every chief of staff nchayansa ene yakase kwan no ene wanim wani amunsa akamode dada so de mpenifo chese munya abotre na yenye muntum ansa na hyehyɛ ma pedi ho anim ansa na ebetimi ahwe ne age watum no chise usi nkonya efa capitation grand penny bi esi official sheet so churo brofo tenten pa akoma supervisor minister na chese minister wo hye na asem na minister no bo akire koma chia mehene aha enum sande etimi kase ko anase enko Felix Kwachiofo so ye okasa de ba mampanim ena nkrata tenten we ne nsasha se ode bayem agas bosome ne de etoso aduasa wa afimum wose we de wo mu ye ne sesan so my Ghana confess no aha ye boto no kura na sika ne hyem no ene ye hwese ye betimi aboho ban ti obesrem ni nyina ka ho bi resetting Ghana agenda na yeguso a ye ka wasem na ye boho de road e ka ho bi enti na wo mu sisa agina ye wem na woni official bia enkrata we ya yenya abotre ni akenkan de ama wona ade wose waso ode ne pa ye tuufo a wuntie obebusu no wose ne tie bia ne Ghana mra ene ne obedi sania code of conduct dwumedi ayaye e de ama aban adwumafo esi etie afa ye pem so ye ne chiremu e wonsem foforo so da asoye a wo hwe ndam dwumedie so wo my Ghana mu de atodwa chese bre mu de we ne chiremu Fisheries College ye no wa no mabose ya tum se empempen so ewu no enkoyie wo bi kan asem wo se sene pen koyie nti wo mo ye nhyehyɛ se wo mbetimi esi ne biom na wo madada no wo de sansam wo nyina atodwa bra na wo ya amamra ne amane nipa dunsia committee abedweko ena na wo pa wontoma sei
aban no aye krado se obeboa ma Fisheries College project bia no a asokwan mu a ye anwie obeto aso ama omo awie wogiri se ebeboa ema nimdie bia no a ye age enwoma kwanso nimdie bia no a ye age dwumadie kwanso ewo epofo famu ene ne yekeka ho no ho adehua nsem no ni nyina no wogiri se ebetimi aboa yie pa ne sa yoso nti Anomabo Fisheries College won finfini mantemu no wo mo inaugurate 16 member committee say won mo hwe na academic curriculum wo mo enye ne sa DNT enampanifo etu anamompa bi say Minister of Fisheries and Aquaculture Mame Emilia Ata
mfe bebre we betwemu ko 2012 ino mampanyin dadawa Nyankopon atwemsa afren nyamemfa ne kransi eye Professor John Evans Pipe Atamils odi dwumedi bi bebo ade de ye betu school wo Ghana hade ya odbetete nkofo efere dwuma ho na nyameto nsafre na mampanyin John Mahama so bedi na ade no onu so tu dwumedi no do na ni the member no mu no bedu nde no school project no okofom kakra bo mampanyin John Mahama san be gwa no do no ina obom kokko the my minister Mishe efere dwuma do no mema yan hwe na yen wie school no na ye wie so a afi a ye behia ni ne bosume ba so zinkan no ode ye wie school no ma school no hye na dwumedi ase tenyame na adumara ato person my budget kakra ye hye school na ase na ye wi na se edwuma ne rekoda na ode yenya iku kakra bi so ho nso wo behwe de school no adekire no obekoden nti enuanum a ye hye mu ahe ye committee a minister mato de wonhwe na school no wo mayen edin school no ye befre ne den school no abade no wo bekire school no wo beko school empena hen wo afikuru wananom wo baba school wo ho abrade na wo bekire hon abra abodin kratai na wo de bekita won na eyi hina no ye peda ye ma committee no wo be yedwuma no woto wo asede oda adekire ina bibi obekodo wo bia oyeda obeboa mahen efere edwuma no nsu anu do nsu epu do nsu tin do enam nyan do obekosoro ni nyina abekosoro na hen efere edwuma no ho abamfaso sen mosma otima hen sesia wo mangana nti ehia ha oye committee a oho na wo kwa akohwe university no edin ayede betu no do oho na obaba betraze wo ho oho na obaba school wo ho administrative structure na no ho kaka ho nyina
Also for abedi kire ya wo hwenkita hode wonsam so wo my Ghana mu Mohammed Adam Supero na afeso Nita director ya wo no ehwe technical service so Solomon Kofi Richardson wo ma kire wo my Ghana ye ni tuade mu no kese e de fa ICT wo kire se Ghana ye dache e ye krabehwe pa.
This is a very important achievement for us as a country. Haven't witnessed this ICT Week celebration, and today we are here to conclude it with dinner and award night. This is what we've been advocating for, that Ghana, we see ourselves as a country that will lead the charge for the ICT in Africa. It will interest you to know that these partners, especially the private sector, are all Ghanaian companies, and that is the most important thing for me. This is what His Excellency the President vision is, to see a Ghana where we have a lot of ICT, because the world has moved towards a direction that whether even you are into journalism, whatever you are doing, you must have IT background to enable you to succeed in whichever direction. And so President's vision is very clear.
Senior Bino, esi ayana joino. Say you be digitalize economy no. And they say we Ghana near. I saw Bomodin say senior you use computer, you use phone. Yeah, they in your 1212 be there. Say with me, we. The very important to say. You bet your where home. I buy a Bomodin say all the achechere. Your friend digital literacy. Yeah, they ma and Kodam paying for yen and Namonia. The Intinia Messer say we are Ghana in Quadia, but modern say will be taking interest in some of these things. I saw a bedu baby a bed and say obey access some of these government services. Say the bank communities now, especially the rural communities. Intensity I set up a friend of community information centers. Now the computers are baho. Hoping say with time no obi abesuya nkaka na ye to me do baby Ghana ni bia betime ebenya the needed skill betime the IS and your money now.
This year they are very special, and more especially some of the awards so account or more recognize organizations any companies are more modern IT na megidi pa say ebe shom nkran ebe she nyina nkran say etimi ayeden etimi contributing more area improve IT my company e-solutions consulting mbo abaso ewo ejuma ye transforming Ghana government through smart workplace. Smart workplace, your team deploy across over 620 government agencies so far. Automated manual processes are on the ejuma. Into idea, you need to na award no so you so na you did say be share nkran etimi ayi bebre.
Yeah, can say na nyame ya adoma benada September boss me de to so mienu na kire se wode wani chemu akwiti abato mpesua so a ese wani nsese e catch by elections anu wode ne pa na de hyehyɛ so enam so mapani kwanchefa kane na wo hwa adesua wonsam so wo my Ghana mabremu de wose ye nto aba anu wode fama na sane be ya wo betime him frank akese wa MPP amanyoko no Dr. Yaw ose educhum wa hyase a wo ye campaign e de ama parliamentary candidate a wo gire mo de ama NPP amanyoko no e wo akwiti Solomon Kwame Asumedu.
Danko kufa the school wasam ye beye bebrebe sabre mini akitwe oba no abeboan na FM de be kakra ya troso akofum se 2028 obesa yi adom ni asa babiem the sabre de ye mi hia no se minua Asumadu Modaroma oba na adom mo amoba Moba my sister the see everything. The so trauma me area kra. Mo moba mo ko trauma pe wo du manu no baba bada mo ase pa. Ya bada mo ase. Tene de e ya de sre kakra e pa mo chow. Obia
Mese mo se mo force kwan bia so no. Amo amutifie na amunni ha se ya kase. Mo ni omo nkasa. Me in politics na ene ye no. Otu na na obi asi wachi. Nanso monka nche om say we die ye nua enti yemfa party asem ento nchen maso bibia say dia we besi machi bia kan bia no mo hu say mo ba ne mo nua na gina ha nyame adma Tuesday we ye kokoto aba mepa mo chow mo ma bo adua no Mama menti wo mi mu se boadu akasa amame mo me nya ade a se yeto abani wi a ye benya ho mfaso mfaso ne se me meti ai mabie enwuma bebre ama nipa aye me ma ebidawo enya fina mo be ka se ye be try na hwe se me doors are always open me nya ye se me MP kora no de bia mabie mi po ama nipa se nipa mbra Timmy Pamucho at the said, dear pan and deny at the mamma. Mamma, I may say this opportunity I know. I'm a cousin, you know, to me, Navy, and you know, credit. aban ọma obia constituency bia common fund but omuti ade we ọma obia common fund enye se we MPP ni ana we NDC ni obia je no common fund enti me wo DC wa ha endi aban na yi munim se ono de NDC ni dida enti aban no me ko no ka se omboa me dia na ni DC no yi no ano ono ana odi na bro ana e must untimi nka se on fa ma me eno ana MPs no amoba amoji amode ye mpuntuduma no okoje aban de amount o de oni DC de abetena ase DC fakoese na mu ade ede wo mni se me ame MP no me che baby ame pese yemfa resources no nko enti so bia begina ase oba mpuntuduma bia nkoso na ne papa ne yewra John de a ense da anye no kre
ye kwa kweti abaton pesia so ye ne ensentwe ne kwabeno for kwa kwedi nkomo ne ahwe ground se ne sitie nyame admo chena echi na abaton ne eba so kwabena kwaba
ya ba me joso
bokode e
awo ade atom na nso du
nyame adom ne mpai bo me ho oden pa ma ye hwa kwetia se ne sitie sisi ye kase
anofedie anase elie so be pie mu wo eye akwetia nyame boa ebenada Tuesday September 2nd ometo by election na sisi ya me no ka say de mu akwetia krum na se wo be pie ha anoma ye sisi isa say a police for a omo ba be boban na omahwe se bia betimi akọ wano no omo showcase bibi kakra mo nenam krum maache tonwom omo kasa omo de baaye de ba kwa se cells a ye chewa ye betimi de wahye mu no ni nyina bi ka ho de eno so se bia enkrofo abo dompim na se omo ye tutrasama na se omo se nyemo betimi atu ensuo de agu omo so no zakas ni nyina bi ka ho a police company ni nyina ka ho na afi so omo ai ya se da sign omo se omo mra no omo boban no omo nso ka ho na ubepie mu wo akotia DCD camp honom na park kakraka omo age ho a na omo bebo omo sisi a enei omo ye training na omo boaboa omo ho anopai omo ne afa krum na yenam krum no ade ba ko a na twetwema so ne se asafia no na wo ne omanfo ne bebre kasa de omo kan ne se omusuro anasa omo yam hihye omo